Welcome back, my friends, or welcome to the channel if it's your first time. My name is Josh, or Carpo. I don't put on an act, I don't put on a front. This is who I am, and my channel is just a bunch of full of shit random crap that I spit out of my mouth, and it goes into your ears. Whether or not it makes sense, there's only so much I can say. I mean, a lot of the time I just ramble off the top of my head. Usually I have a set of notes. I try to present info that's factual, but in fact I have 3 whole pages in front of me of an entire discussion that's coming up in the future, but I'm not quite ready for that one yet. That one is about, wait, where is it? Oh, that's right. The IDW, or the intellectual dark web, which consists of a whole bunch of different people with different backgrounds and ideas. I'd like to make a full video about this, but be fair and honest and discuss this subject with reverence and respect for the ideas that some people have, while calling out some of the ones I don't agree with. And what I find is that when you do videos like this, what I would call, what many people call rage bait, a term I heard the other day and I thought it was fantastic, or outrage bait. Much of what the media is today is just trying to get your attention. So I'm not going to talk about that in this one. For the very first part of my discussion, what I'd like to talk about is Twisted Sister. Yes, Twisted Sister. I woke up this morning and my son, an 8-year-old, by the way, was rocking out to Twisted Sister. He was listening to, it wasn't I Wanna Rock. Yes, it was I Wanna Rock. It's one or the other, usually. That or We're Not Gonna Take It. Both of those videos were pretty much intertwined. Dee Snider made it very clear that those videos were intended to be humans representing cartoons. It was a complete joke. They were fabricated, hilarious stories about people being thrown through floors, and it was ludicrous at best. The reason I bring up Twisted Sister, and the funny part about it, is that letting my 8-year-old listen to Twisted Sister means nothing to me. I have nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't even think twice about it. When I was a kid, we had what they called the PMRC. When I was about 11 or 12, that was the PMRC basically, this all came to a head in, I believe, 1985. The PMRC, and I'm going to read to you exactly what the PMRC was so I don't have to pretend to define it for you. The Parents Music Resource Center, or PMRC, was an American committee formed in 1985 with the stated goal of increasing parental control over the access of children to music deemed to have violent, drug-related, or sexual themes via labeling albums with parental advisory stickers. Now, all of the kids today, and adults, teens, everyone has seen the parental advisory stickers, completely unaware often of, where they actually came from. That was the PMRC. It's not that big of a deal. As a person may say, well, that's okay. Label it so the kids know. It's never that simple. The fact is, there's a lot of things that were labeled and deemed harmful were indeed not, and therefore certain stores would not take or carry these albums. So it was bad for the artists. I'll continue reading. The committee was founded by 4 women known as the Washington Wives, a reference to their husbands' connections with government in the Washington, D.C. area. The women who founded the PMRC are Tipper Gore, wife of Al Gore, Susan Baker, wife of James Baker, Pam Howard, wife of Washington realtor Raymond Howard, and Sally Nevis, wife of former Washington City Council Chairman John Nevis. The PMRC eventually grew to include 22 participants before shutting down in the mid to late 1990s. And before I go on about this, the Filthy 15. These are the Filthy 15 bands which they considered objectionable. Prince, Sheena Easton, Judas Priest, Vanity, Motley Crue, AC/DC, Twisted Sister, Madonna, Wasp, and, Wasp was pretty rough, but I listened to them when I was 10, and I'm going to get to that point. I didn't grow up to be a killer or a sadist. So, Def Leppard, Merciful Fate, Black Sabbath, Mary Jane Girls, I never even heard of them, Venom, and Cyndi Lauper. Of course, Cyndi Lauper would be on the list. But much of this was a religious-based fear. The funny thing about that is that, these were everything kids were into back in those days. So when Dee Snider came into court and he was questioned about this, now there were other people there. John Denver was there, and he was dressed nice. He had a nice suit on. There was somebody else there. I don't recall at the moment. There were several people, but they had suits on. Dee Snider comes walking in the courtroom with his hair just hanging down and a jean jacket all ripped up, patches, his usual gear. And he sat down and proceeded to just completely lay on the reality to these people. When he was questioned by Tipper Gore, Al's wife, and she says, well, this particular song, and she pointed out some lyrics in a song and said, this refers to sadism and masochism. And then he said, actually, the song is called Under the Knife. And he proceeded to tell her that the song was actually about one of their bandmates who was going in to go under the knife for a polyp in his throat. And he was going in to have surgery. And he just laid it on her and he followed up by saying, he said something, I think, to Al Gore. He said, if your wife hears sadomasochism in these songs, then I guess that's her, on her, or something to that effect. He didn't know what to say. He just goes, yeah, and moved on. And it was hilarious. And I urge anybody to watch it, because these were the points where musicians were standing up for the rights. And it was the original, what you might call cancel culture. The very first extreme right-wing Christians who were trying to cancel, anybody who was saying anything about anything else. I hate to use that term, but it's just so funny because it's used today against the left. When I was a kid, it was the right that was trying to cancel everything. Anything that talked bad about Jesus or talked bad about, or mentioned sex or anything. Americans are so caught up in that shit. So, anyway, that's about all I got to talk on that topic. I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is astrology. Yeah. Sagittarius or Shaggy Harius. Depends on how you take it, I guess. I'm mentioned in the past that I don't really believe in modern astrology or horoscopes. But it doesn't mean that I don't believe that there's definite influence by the planets and the sun. I've felt really weird over the last week, and I can't explain it. I'm not going to try to explain it. But I know that every time I have a weird week or a weird couple days, I talk to other people who have also had a weird day. And it's not just a normal weird. Everything's weird. Life is weird. But the sun, every time I think, okay, things have felt very strange lately, I go onto the NASA or the SDO page or watch Suspicious Observers, which is a YouTube channel for years I've been following, who gives info about the sun. And I looked in to see what the sun's doing, because whenever there's a solar flare or a geomagnetic storm, I always have weird effects and weird feelings. I stay up late. I was digging in the dumpster the other night at like 1 a.m. with my wife, and it was an awkward thing. The next day I had a headache, and I started thinking, we are electrical beings. I've been thinking about this for years, and how does that connect to the sun and the way that geomagnetic storms, affect us? Then I found out that very night we got noctilucent clouds here in Washington State, which is something we never, ever get. They used to be an Arctic phenomenon, but it's where they're like neon clouds way after sunset, where the sun is reflecting off these extremely high clouds. And, but I don't know, if that relates to the storm or not. It was just kind of interesting, but it always seems that something weird's going on, whether it's a full moon or a solar flare. But then again, humans are likely to just kind of, take what they want to believe from it. Which brings me to my next thing, which is about prepping, preparedness for the, what does it say here? surviving an apocalypse. We've got the dollars, we've got a tent, and we've got burgers. Very simple concept. Being prepared for anything. I have another, besides the video about the IDW, I have another entire list of notes for a different video I wanted to make about a potential for anything to happen tomorrow. Our system is so tied in. I'm not going to go into this deeply because it just gets apocalyptic. But I think that over the last year, we've really seen how fragile the system is. Even something as simple as toilet paper. Imagine if everybody wanted to make a run on chili or make a run on, bread or meat, which has happened all over the country. You see what happens. We live in a JIT society. And I constantly keep up on my kind of prepared awareness. And the reason I bring this up is because when I first started my channel and I started using it around 2011, I made a whole series about prepping and making sure. They only had like 10 views or something, but they're still up. And it was about making sure that you're prepared for anything that could happen, solar flares, a power grid collapse, how to take note of it. But I felt like after I was prepared for these things, I was not interested anymore in talking about it all the time. It's kind of like once you're prepared for something, you don't need to obsess over it. It's kind of how I feel about people and firearms. Like, once you've got your firearms, you want to protect yourself, fine, but people keep talking about them. It becomes kind of an obsession or a hobby, just like prepping, where people just want to get more and more and be more and more safe. And I don't know, I've got better things to do than armor my life or bubble wrap myself. If the shit hits the fan and it gets too bad, it is what it is. I'm not here to survive anything. If the zombies come, at least I know they're slow. And then I guess that brings me to the next thing, which is school and dumpster diving. And I actually have a video to make about this later too. And I have a whole stack of things in there. And I know I posted a few things about this on my channel as well as my other channel. But no, you have no idea. Like, the first time I went to the dump, I've been there 3 times to one dumpster, 2 times to the other one. We have gone in as they stack it full and pulled out the bags. You can hear them clinking, entire bags full of blocks. But not just that, I'm pulling out tubs with entire blocks in the brand new packaging. And these sell for like $20 on eBay. And you find a box like 10 of them. They're just everywhere. It's unbelievable. And I'm not an eBay seller, so, I don't even want to pay eBay their fees and PayPal fees and everything else. But I might end up having to do that to get rid of them because there's so much. I have an endless pile of school supplies, and I'm getting ready to go back right now and see what else they've dumped because I cannot see the shit go to waste. And it makes me think about the teachers who need to buy pencils for the kids and why are they throwing these things away? And to think about whether it's just budget related or whether the district is forcing them to throw them away. And at first I thought maybe they're just tossing the ones that are old because of COVID or because of new learning, methods. Even if everything's thrown away because of new learning methods, that doesn't give you a reason to throw away pencils and everything else without giving them to Goodwill, somebody that could at least sell them to people. So that's my ramble for the day. Thanks for listening. And that's all I've got. I'm going to continue to do some thinking here and figure out which video I actually want to make. I have a bunch of other cleanup and shit to do, so I just thought I'd take 15 minutes and say hi. And hi. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Talk to you next time. Be well.